Hello, everybody. Mark Farashi with Music Pulse. We're here tonight with my buddy, the LinkedIn Rockstar, Mr. Mike O'Neil, who is with us tonight. We're sitting here playing with some of this new stuff that's in the Google Hangouts now. They've got some fancy drawing programs and things that we've been experiencing. This is going to be a first for me because we're broadcasting from an Apple computer that I'm not used to. But I wanted to go ahead and give this a try. I really tried hard to get a trailer for the show, and that was another experience. So we're in a large learning curve. But if you've been watching my posts the last few days, you've been hearing me talk about Mike and his experience with going to the Paul McCartney concert that he's got out. And Mike started telling me about it, and it was really interesting because of his takeaway in regards to that. So I'll go ahead and introduce Mike. Mike, how are you doing tonight? The LinkedIn Rockstar.
I am silent. I'm having such a great time tonight. I'm still in awe from the Paul McCartney concert. I think a month from now, I'll still be going like, oh my God, what happened to me?
Yeah, it sounds like it was a huge event with Paul McCartney. He's doing Coliseum events. That was at a Coliseum. Where was it at?
It's called the Out There Tour.
Right.
Out There Tour. And, you know, one thing it does, it inspires people who are, 72 years old or less to really get out there. He's 72 years old. Do you believe that, Mark?
That's been yeah, it's amazing on how many years have gone by, and he's still out there. The crowds have probably aged with him. There's a little bit more of a generational, older generation, but the kids are still coming out too, from what I understand.
Well, this is one of those concerts. It's like a Leonard Skinner concert where you've got 1, 2, 3 generations on down. And frankly, Skinner has a song called Skinner's. I think it's Skinner Generations or something, and it talks about the 3 generations of Skinner fans. And McCartney is pushing 4.
Yeah, 4 generations. It's very true.
Yeah, blow your mind. One of the things that blows your mind about that is that we're living this long.
Yeah, we are getting up in generations, and pretty soon we'll be 110 up on stage doing our thing. You never know.
You know what I hear, Mark, is that people today are expected to live less rather than longer than the people of prior to them. We're at a really critical phase, I think, in society where, gosh, with all the things happening with global warming and climate and violence and disease or whatever you want to say it is, we're not going to live as long as a generation that is happening like right now or just slightly in the past. And, the Beatles are central to that.
It's an interesting concept. So this big old Coliseum concert had a little bit of a takeaway for you in regards to the marketing and the promotion that was happening. Did you get one of those new apps that they've got when you went to go get your tickets and have it on your phone and all that good stuff?
I have a whole page on my phone that are apps that deal with concerts.
Very cool.
From StubHub to this and that. There's a whole page. It's about to go on to another page, Mark.
Very, very cool. The only 2 that I think of right off the top of my head, of course, is Live Nation. And now just this week they had a new push on StubHub coming into that market, and they've got an app out that they're starting to produce it. But one of the biggest things that I was very interested in marketing and everything for the concerts was that you can go onto these apps and you can actually buy your tickets on the app. And then as you're going to the event, it knows where you're at and starts pushing relative information about the concert, or how do they work?
We're getting to the stage where they're going to recognize the song that's being played and put over here like trivia about the song. The song 8 days a week was written by and da 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 with this stuff that's going to go on the right hand side while you're watching the concert over here. It was absolutely astounding, the concept of they recognize this and they show that and they make you feel this way.
So everything was in real time and kind of happening within this app, and then what was going on the stage and all that kind of thing, kind of tied in.
So let's just picture this. So let's look at the camera. Here I am, and here's Paul McCartney down here.
Right.
Down here, okay. and over here is a 120-foot tall video screen, 40 feet wide, 120 feet tall. Over here is 120 feet tall by 40 feet wide.
Whoa.
And you've got 120 by 120 in the middle. The biggest freaking screen I've ever seen. You're usually seeing, 30 by 40, like a 4 by 3.
Right. Amazing.
7 times as tall.
I guess what I'm kind of more interested than anything of the concerts, the sound quality obviously is great, and then the contextual things with the screens you're talking about, but how those apps tie into getting you to the event, to the food, to the merch tables. Was that what was happening with the application that you were using?
Well, we're not quite at the stage where you push a button and they bring a beer to your seat or food. But we're very close to that. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Very serious. If you go to a show at Red Rocks, like I go to shows at Red Rocks once a year. I don't live in Colorado anymore, but when I did, I went to more than one. What can I say?
Right.
More than one. And when you're at Red Rocks in Colorado, I'm going there in I don't know, 10 days or so. I'm going to see the 1964 Beatles tribute show.
Very cool.
And then I go to Reggae on the Rocks the next day.
Cool.
And when you order your first beer from a beer vendor who comes by, and they go up and down one aisle, and one guy probably handles a few aisles, and the next guy handles a few other aisles. So let's picture that,
Right.
I've got, 15 through 20. The next guy's got, down.
Right.
They give you a card, and you can text him.
That's great. I'm out. I need another beer.
Yeah. And awesome. the thing is, after a while, after a couple songs into the show, or 10 songs into the show, maybe a typical show is what, 20, 25 songs. Is that about right?
Yeah, 25, 30 would be a long show, but yeah.
Paul McCartney does 40 songs.
Whew, that's a long night. I don't.
Well, it's a long night, but picture this. When you're back in the 60s, how long was a song back in 65?
I want to say 3 to 5 minutes, somewhere in there.
2.5 minutes.
2.5.
2.5 minutes was the unit of increment, like the what, I don't know, picture the boxcar.
Yeah, it was the standard. Just like a standard with records is 12 songs. That's a standard, yeah.
So the radio stations had these play things that said 2.5 minutes, 2.5 minutes, 2.5 minutes, 2.5 minutes, break, 2.5 minutes, 2.5 minutes,
right.
2.5. That was essentially called a 1U. Like, I'm from the technology industry.
Right.
If you have these data racks that have hardware in them, they have the stuff, you screw it in.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like a computer, like a stereo.
Right.
Right. Your amp and your preamp.
Right.
I'm not talking about a turntable here, okay? Other than a turntable. They're called a U, and a U is 1.75 inches.
Ah.
So 1 U is 1.75 inches. So you figure, like a song is a U, and another song, and then they put in their 30-second commercial, their 30-second commercial, their minute commercial.
Yeah, they balance out their whole show towards exactly what they're going to do, and they know exactly what they're going to do based on that whole stack. Yeah, makes sense.
So if you go back and you look, songs if they're not 2.5 minutes, they're closer to 5 because they're 2 U's.
Right. Well, that's the big thing with Pink Floyd. When Pink Floyd came in and did their song, it was so much longer than what the radio station was used to having. Yeah.
Reuse for that one, right?
Here you go. Here you go. So you ended up going to the merch table and getting yourself a few T-shirts. I saw one of your pictures. You had a Deadhead shirt on. Was that being sold at his concert, or where did you pick up that Deadhead shirt?
Let me share that. So within a concert, if you're talking about shirts, we need to talk about shirts. Let's discuss the whole business of shirts.
They call it merch in the business.
Merchants, much better because they sell more than shirts.
Right.
First of all, there's always a bargain shirt.
Right.
A bargain shirt for this show was $40.
Ouch.
Oh, and it was a McCartney shirt on the front. You know, it was a good-looking shirt.
Right.
But on the back, nada.
There was nothing, huh?
That's the bargain shirt. The bargain shirt is only on the front. It can be a frickin' bitchin' shirt on the front.
Right.
But as soon as you walk away, you just got a white T-shirt. It's $40. That's where that started. Nothing less than $40. Now for 50, you know, you get into this and that. And this concert had the concert specific shirt. That's a very unique thing. There aren't many shows, many tours where you get to do the concert specific shirt where it says Minneapolis, August 2nd,
Right.
2014, Target Field.
Which says that that's going to be a collector's item because they're only sold at that venue. That's interesting. And then I wonder how they would gauge exactly how many shirts they would need. They're not going to say, if we've got 50,000 people, we're going to make 50,000 shirts because not everybody's going to buy one.
Right. It makes me wonder what happens to the rest of those shirts and how do I get one cheap?
They put them up online and they probably have them for that venue. If you're in Minneapolis, you live in Minneapolis, you may want one of those shirts in the future. Yeah.
I'm still trying to answer that question.
Yeah, it is an interesting one. Well, only Paul McCartney, not only, but he's one of the big men that would be able to afford the loss that you would lose on that venture, I would think, you know.
I think they have a pretty good feel for how many shirts they're going to do. And frankly, what they do, they sell out.
Yeah. Yeah, you make sure you're under. You don't want to be over. You don't want to get left with that merchandise for the most part.
Well, let's think about that, Mark. What does it cost to make a shirt?
Well, a shirt's going to be $10 plus your printing, which would probably put it up to $13, $50, somewhere in there probably. You sell it for $20.
The cost of a shirt is less than $4.
$4. Well, if you're mass producing them, yeah. If that would make sense, I suppose. I'm sitting here trying to look at the quality of the Kenny Wayne Shepherd.
What if you have some leftover shirts? You're charging $40 or more.
Discount.
And it costs you $4 to have leftover inventory. Let's just be a businessman here. Gosh, what's my cost for that? You know, what's my downside risk of having too many shirts?
With Paul McCartney, not much. He's going to sell those things anyway. They're a collector's item. They're going to end up selling somewhere down the line.
Yeah, so maybe you put those extra shirts out on Amazon, on eBay.
Exactly. Collectors.
They make even more than $4. So I think the shirt thing is really, you have to think about how do companies make money on these shows? The ticket is the main thing. Do you agree?
The ticket value is really not where they always talk about with the artists that they're really making the money off the merchandise. That's where, because almost 100% goes to the artist on the merchandise. And the album goes, well, not the album nowadays. It's
the
still
hit number 2, because number 2 is the shirt.
Right.
Okay. Let's go down the list. Number 1 is the ticket. And at this show, the tickets were anywhere from, I heard there were like $40 tickets. There were nothing like that there.
That's got to be a nosebleed seat.
No, the nosebleed seats were $60, $80, $90 somewhere. I look online. I go. I was trying to do. In fact, I'm doing a blog post, and I'm going like, what was the cheapest seat? And there was $39.50 was the cheapest officially posted seat. There was not a single $39 ticket anywhere. I mean, the tickets in the upper section, way up top, which, by the way, are among the best seats in the house.
Right? Even you'd think they weren't, but yeah, I bet you they were. With all those big screens and everything.
Yep. But I was just at a conference. Actually, the Prior Lake Chamber of Commerce event was tonight. And the gal who runs it, she couldn't make it. She had tickets in the 6th row. Now, look at how many rows back am I talking about?
That's not very far. That's not very far.
$275 a piece. And I had a guy who was selling me a ticket while I'm waiting out in line. I'm holding a finger up like, I need a miracle.
Yeah.
I need a miracle. $465 ticket. I saw it. Here, let me get my ticket. Right here.
Oh, you went without a ticket. You just went and got it scalped right there on the locations, what you did. Let me show that.
Paul McCartney. Right there. Gate 34, section 138, row 1, seat 2.
Nice.
How's that?
You can't beat that with a stick.
Can't beat that except it's obstructed view. So here I am all the way off to the left. I can only see Paul McCartney and his 2 guitar players. The rest of the band is like hidden behind those huge 120-foot screens. So I go like, so the gal who sold me this ticket, she's 62 years old. She's a widower. It was her once-in-a-lifetime experience. I bet you she is still thinking to this day, God, I had so much fun.
So what she did, she just decided to sell it to make the money?
She paid $175 for the ticket the day of the show.
Right.
She sold it to me for $75. And she had the best time she ever had in her life. I was like her date. I was like her gigolo.
So she had 2 tickets. She sold you one and got some extra money. That's pretty good.
The $100 she lost didn't matter because she was going to see Paul McCartney, and this was the time of her life. This was the one thing she was going to remember when she went to her grave at the end.
This was on her bucket list. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. You hit it right, on the bucket list. And frankly, if you can put something on your bucket list and have the best time of your life and it costs, what, $350?
Oh, yeah, that's worth it. Definitely. Definitely worth it. Can't beat that.
Me too. You know, I think she kind of like, you know, she didn't hit on me or anything, but she really enjoyed, you know, just the night being with someone. I'm 54 years old. She's 62.
Yeah, I did it. I went to a concert at a fair one year and I forgot who the heck it was, but I picked up some chick because I didn't have a date with my ticket. Did the same thing. Had a good time. She was married, but that was all right. I had a good time.
And you know what? You remember that, and so does she. It's probably the time of her life. And one of the things I really enjoy, I really enjoy, is giving that much pleasure to somebody else. And the way to do it, for me, ultimately, it isn't this or that. It's a concert. It's the venue. It's the band. It's the weather.
There you go. Let's get into a little bit of you, Mike. You're the LinkedIn Rockstar on LinkedIn, and you go out and you do a lot of different seminars and do education all over the place, teaching people how to market and sell themselves on LinkedIn. Is that what you do?
Yeah. You can deal with individuals, which is like I love individuals. I mean, gosh, one-to-one is just perfect.
Right.
But you know what? Making one-to-one is like grabbing one grain of sand at a time and saying, like, let's make a beach.
A lot funner when you have a bunch more people, huh?
There you go. So if you scoop them up and say, like, well, what if we took the whole team or the whole office or the whole company? Now you got it. So what I do is I help companies develop their platform and their environment, their view to the public on social media, starting with LinkedIn.
Right. Well, branding. You're a branding expert in a lot of ways, but then LinkedIn's not the only one. We've talked about that before with your different platforms and the stuff that you get into with helping people learn how to brand themselves online.
Yeah. Now, when you get beyond the company, so what we talked about there is, there's somebody who's in charge of the corporate account, who logs in as the company and who speaks as the company. There's somebody or a department who does that.
Right.
Well, then you've got the rank and file, which are the regular people who have a quota, who are sales reps, who, 1 month they're making quota, and the next month their boss is going like, going to get you. You're 10% below, you're half below. Even though you were twice as much last month, you're half as much this month. So really, frankly, a good sales rep would say, you know what, I should manage my business. You know what I mean? I don't want to be 200% a quota this month and 50% this month. It would be better to be 100 every month.
Or more. They're usually sales.
125, 150.
Exactly. I always want to push for more.
Yeah, but
so
never.
You've got a pretty cool tie-in, Mike, with music, with a LinkedIn Rockstar, and then you're starting to do a book I hear on the Eagles. The Eagles you're starting to do.
I'm doing a series right now that goes with our book, Rock the World with LinkedIn 3.0. What 3.0? Here we go, 3.0.
Right.
It's a third-generation book. You know, the second-generation books are coming out now. Someone has read, has recorded and written and done their book, and now they've got version 2. Well, you know, we go back to 2009, 2010 with our book, so we're starting version 3 now. And, you know, one of the things that I found is that you can have the best tips in the world, and, you know, my stuff is better than that stuff and all, and what happens is people get this far into the book.
Yeah, they don't get very far.
I ran out of interest. You know, it didn't pull me in anymore. I fell asleep watching the tips, and I'm writing them down. I've got my notepad. I'm writing down these tips, and they fall asleep. Now, on the other hand, if what you do is, first of all, you realize that people are not going to read it all the way through. Just like people are not going to listen to every album that a band has, they're going to listen to one album, and, you know, tomorrow, the next one, and the next day, the next one. You know, this whole concept of a little bit at a time. And so what I did, I thought, you know what, I know quite a bit about music. I know quite a bit about the Eagles. Pink Floyd as well.
Right.
But the Eagles in this case, you know, Pink Floyd's the other one. That's coming. Trust me, the Pink Floyd version's coming. But the Eagles are a band that has done a whole lot to create business around their music. You know what I mean?
Right. There's some tie-ins to the business. I've seen some of your stuff. You actually did a post on that this weekend with the Helter Skelter or something like that was directed towards some of the business aspects of what you've got going on, which was kind of cool. It's kind of neat tying into the theme.
What you're talking about is One of These Nights.
Yeah.
And a couple weeks ago, it was Pretty Maids All in a Row.
Right.
Why don't we discuss that just for a quick moment, because I want to get back to Paul McCartney and the Beatles, but let's just give it a moment, because Helter Skelter is really, really big. That was a highlight of the show. Of all the things, Helter Skelter and Live and Let Die were 1 and 2 for the whole show.
Was it pretty good because of the video type of things that he tied in with it with the video?
Well, for one, he talked about it for like a minute beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
So Helter Skelter is known as the first heavy metal song ever. I mean, people use the term heavy metal after, and that term never came up before.
I've got a fond memory of Helter Skelter. Helter Skelter was just coming out, the movie was coming out on TV, and I spent the night in jail as a child. Got nailed for shoplifting because I was the lookout, and they nailed me and took me to jail. I spent the night, from the first night in jail, it was like 12, 14, something like that. It was the experience of my life, and it was Helter Skelter was on the TV. They let us watch Helter Skelter, gave us cookies and milk. It was a heck of a night.
You know, what famous criminal is associated with Helter Skelter?
With the guy that killed all the people and his whole crowd. What the heck? I want to say Manson.
Manson, yes, exactly.
Yes.
And I think somewhere in one of his crimes he wrote like Helter Skelter or something.
On the Wall, that was it. That was the movie.
So Helter Skelter had the most mind-boggling. And by the way, we'll put the link to my Helter Skelter video from the conference on the recording of this, right?
Yeah, we can. Well, it'll go in the chat box, but if you do that, it won't stay up there, and people will lose it. But you can do it in the comments on the events page. On the events page.
So you'll want to see this, or you can go to integratedalliances.tv, integratedalliances.tv, and since we're talking about this, I'll get it up there. Okay. So the display of Helter Skelter, which is mind-boggling, because you've got a 120-foot screen over here, a 120-foot screen, and a 120 by 120 in the middle, and it's just woo, 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 woo. You see, look at. I'll guarantee you your video can't keep up with me doing this. But if you watch the video, you can see Helter Skelter going mind-boggling. It was the best part. And seriously, the term heavy metal came from that song. The term did not exist prior to that thing happening.
That was definitely an event in people's lives. That whole movie was what I remember when it came out, but that was before my time that the murders happened, the Manson murders happened.
You know, I was alive, but it was I would say it was before my time a little bit. I remember the Vietnam War on TV and all. I really did. You know, how many people died today was Walter Cronkite telling us. How many people died? It's like it really throws you for a loop when that's your unit of measurement for, you know, what happened today? Well, you know, only 125 people died today.
Right.
Smaller than yesterday when only 105 died.
Yeah, in the war.
So, but Helter Skelter was the graphics on it very much reminded me of Pink Floyd, The Wall.
But he went back to, it was all the Beatles music they were using on the screens. I'm sure it was all that.
Well, it was graphics with these super bright, like almost laser light sort of stuff on these screens.
Cool.
And last summer, no, 2 summers ago. I'm sorry, I'm getting old. 2 summers ago, I saw Pink Floyd, which is really Roger Waters.
Right, Roger Waters' Pink Floyd, The Wall show that he went on tour for. Yeah, he was here in LA as well.
So Mark, I saw it here in Minneapolis indoors at a hockey arena. So if you picture that the backdrop of where the bricks are is right around where the goal is, call it the goal line.
Right.
They got block. How many blocks do you think you can fit in a hockey arena if you go across? You know.
Probably the wall was huge. He traveled everywhere with that dang thing. He probably had to miss a few on that, but.
Well, let's just say it's 100, just for a basis of comparison.
Mm-hmm.
So it turns out I have a really good friend in Chicago, and they were playing at Wrigley Field, outdoor baseball field. Okay, a little different, right? Hockey here, baseball field. I'll go beyond the whole screen.
Yeah.
800 feet from edge to edge, from foul pole to foul pole. So now I'm seeing the same show that I saw here, except it's like, whoa.
Right, huge.
Frickin' believable.
Yep.
It was the same sort of laser graphics, just super, very high speed. You just can't. Fun stuff.
The high tech, yeah, with those screens to be able to travel. You can imagine the money it takes to be able to haul those on buses and take those screens.
Let me have you picture it here. We'll go like so. In Pink Floyd, you have these marching hammers that go like bum 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 bum.
Right.
Thousands, hundreds of hammers going bing 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 bing, and they're going so fast. They're going like, oh my God, they're coming after us, God. and it was similar to that here, except you don't have 500 feet, you got 140 feet.
Right.
But still, it was mind-boggling. And when you talk about what it costs to put on a show like this, Mark, I saw where the semis were. Fields of semis. Like I couldn't see any further.
Yeah, imagine the cost it takes to produce a show like that, and then to be able to travel and go to different towns and keep doing it. The cost is astronomical, but at the same time, he's got to be making money, or he wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, and that's why these tours like gross, $200 million, and they cost $125 million to put on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The numbers are higher than I'm used to seeing, that's for sure. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. There's an extra zero out there now, Mark. Just look at that zero.
Yeah, in our day and age, there was one less back in the 60s. Yeah, I get it. That's good.
Here, so let me show you something right back here. Okay.
Your wall's getting pretty good there, Mike. You got some good music stuff. You got Hendrix over there on one side, and you got, who's on the other one?
John Lennon.
John Lennon, there you go.
So,
oh, look at you. Look at all the tickets you got.
Ticket. This is from the 80s. I have a similar one from the 70s.
Cool.
So let's just see what we got here. So here's a Who ticket for, this is Sun Devil Stadium, $17. This is the biggest, most expensive ticket on the whole sheet here.
Nice.
Bob Dylan with Tom Petty.
Very cool.
Peter Tosh. Do you know who Peter Tosh is?
Yeah, I remember the name. Now you got me curious enough that I want to write it down and log it in and see if I can get some of his music. Peter Tosh. That's the one that's kind of filtered out. Peter Tosh.
Here is Talking Heads for $10.
Talking Heads was the bomb in my day. That was one of my favorite bands.
REO Speedwagon for $9.50.
Yeah, that's cool. REO was another one I used to love.
How about the Monkees for $15?
Whoa, the Monkees back in the 80s for $15. That's pretty cool.
This is the reunion tour in '87. Yep.
Cool.
So the Who for $12.
Nice.
So let me show you this picture right here. This is the Who. There's Roger Daltrey.
Right.
So Roger's wearing a shirt that says Harlan on it.
Harlan.
Yeah, Harlan, Iowa.
Harlan, Iowa. Okay.
My buddies at Iowa State University. I'm in a fraternity. This is 1979.
Right.
I'm in a fraternity at Iowa State University. I'm an industrial engineer. You know, I am just a budding engineer. I do not belong being an engineer, but I graduated with an engineering degree.
Right.
And my friends somehow snuck up front, grabbed their Harlan shirt, threw it up on stage. Roger Daltrey grabs it, he puts it on.
Cool.
And that's the picture. There's Roger.
That's a memory right there for sure. For sure.
So that guided a whole lot of my life. I'd already been to 50 concerts before then. Seriously. I mean, I started working at an early age, Mark. I was 14 years old when I started bussing tables at Perkins.
Right.
Okay. So I'm going to take a moment here to take my little video here, and we might lose a little audio.
Gonna do a walkabout. Here we go.
Here's my turntable.
Ah, the old turntable.
There it is. It's a Bang & Olufsen turntable, and notice what's behind it is a PA system.
Right, right.
You know, I don't have a stereo. I have a PA system for my
The old style, yeah, exactly. That's cool.
So anyway, and Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon was on there a couple nights ago. My son is 16 years old, and I'm turning him on to music now. So
very cool, very cool.
You're gonna listen. You just sit down. I go, sit down in that chair right there. I'm gonna play you music, son. You're gonna listen.
Yeah, the music of old is nothing like what's going on nowadays. That's for sure.
And he loves it. I mean, the music that he listens to, all of the bands that he listens to now have records that come out on vinyl.
Cool.
We go to the Electric Fetus here in Minneapolis, and we buy records. And here's the interesting part: the new records are $20 or $25, right?
Right. Yeah.
I'll show you.
They're more expensive because they're not selling the same volume, so they've got to come up in price. They're more of a collector's item.
Yeah. So here we go. This is here's one of the bands. This is called Waves, and they come with a digital download. So here's your code. Here, everyone.
Right.
If you want to get a free download, there's your code.
So you can get it on your device at the same time you have your record at home. Got it. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, Mark. So you buy a record for $20, $25. You know, that's the equivalent of what a record was then. I paid, what? What did you pay, $4 or $5 for a record back then?
Not anywhere from $8 to $12, if I remember correctly, was an album.
Well, I go back a little further.
Yeah.
You know, you could buy Beatles records for, you know, $4 or $5. That's what they cost back then.
Yeah.
And nowadays, if you kind of go with, well, you know, what is the inflation rate? What is a chocolate bar cost? What does a car cost?
Right. It goes up. Yeah. If you relate it to that, it probably is about the same value of money, I would suppose.
But what happens is, you know, we have phones that generally, oh, isn't that cool effect?
Yeah, that is kind of cool.
Here, you can have a picture of that, bro. There you go. So, you know, when you and I were growing up, we would record our records onto a cassette tape, and we would listen to them wherever we wanted because you couldn't play a record in the car.
Right. You take your tapes with you in your car. Yep, I do remember doing that. The other thing we could do that you can't do as much nowadays is I was able to take my stereo system and tape a radio show. So I would do a lot of that. I would actually put it on the cassette deck and tape the show. And we had good radio stations that would actually have a whole album or half an album or whatever, and you would make sure you taped the whole thing because that was the only way you're going to get that quality.
Totally get it. I totally agree. Actually, in those days of the late 70s, early 80s, even mid 80s, I would take my JBL L36 speakers, three ways, you know, not two.
Yep.
A tweeter, a mid-range, and a woofer, 1, 2, 3, and a port. You know, like I'd take them into my car.
Your car? How the hell did you power them in your car? How did you push the sound? Well, yeah, you could go to somebody's house or something and set up your stereo. I remember doing that.
Well, I had a Fosgate amp, or I had an ADS power plate. You know, the Fosgate was in the glove box, and then I said, that's not enough.
You're crazy.
So underneath the passenger seat was what's called an ADS power plate. It was as wide as the seat. It was like 12 inches long with big fins on it.
Right.
It was like, I don't know, 50 watts per channel, something like that. It wasn't like, you know, 1,000 watts, but it was like plenty to power the JBL speakers.
You're talking the Fosgate? Is that what you just said, Fosgate? Is that what you said?
Fosgate, yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that brand, too, and I remember guys that would do the same thing and have their big old stereos in their car, but you sound like you were just taking your speakers out of your house and putting them in your car.
That's what I did. I had, you know, Jensen triaxials.
Yep.
But, you know, on Friday night, we did a little more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You hit somebody's house. You had big old parties and all that. The good old days. Yeah, they don't have the stereo systems they did in our days. Nowadays, you go down and you buy a stereo system all in one box and you take it home. You have no clue what it's going to sound like. Tinny. It doesn't. The old days, we used to have to do their homework. You used to have to get into what your components were all about and how your components would match and mix, and we learned about a room. Sound in a room changes based on where your speakers are placed and all that kind of stuff.
Now, you bring it to me, Mark. Give me 10 seconds here, and I'll show you what you're talking about.
There you go. We're getting on the way back with Mike, the LinkIn Rockstar, giving us a way back tour of the old days.
What's that, Mark?
What do you got? What do you got? Oh, it's a vacuum tube. Where the hell did that come out of?
It came out of a Crown amplifier.
Nice.
Now, this was not part of a preamp. This was part of a power amp. So you had these, and you might have, you know, if you had a really big amp, you might have 4 of these. If you had a small amp, you might have 2. If you had a monster amp, there might be 6.
Mm-hmm.
So just take a look. Now, this one's broken.
Did you check? Oh, yeah, it is broken. Did you check it out as far as what the cost of something like that would be for a collector's item? It's probably a good little chunk of change, $300 to $500, something like that. You already looked?
I did not.
I was thinking maybe you had, with being as heavy as you are. That's the other thing that's kind of neat. You go into the technology store, Best Buy or whatever, and a lot of the components they're throwing back to vacuum tubes. and they're using it for marketing and sales more than anything, because you can see a little display. It's always out in prominence, you know, and it's glowing so that people can tell that it's got vacuum tubes as part of its technology. It's kind of a neat marketing technique, but
totally onto it. So picture this concept of a flywheel.
Right.
It doesn't just stop.
No,
it keeps going. It takes a while to start, like a car. It doesn't just stop all of a sudden. It takes a while to slow down.
Yeah.
These things like glow.
Yep.
So they're not really good for some things, but they're really, really good for other things. And when you're talking about analog music, they're just wonderful for it, because there's a softness that happens. Let me share something in the movie business. So this has a direct analogy to movie business. In the movie business, they can film at 60 frames per second, at 30 frames per second, or at 24.
Right.
60, 30, 24. If you film at 60, you get this super sharp stuff, like these super computer graphics stuff, like the Matrix movies. It's like, I'll demonstrate. Like,
give me a slowdown.
Now, when you're dealing with 30, you're dealing with less so, and when you're dealing with 24, you have this sort of, you know, you can't freeze a frame because some of the stuff is frozen like this. You can't freeze you can't do a still from the frame. But these things, you know, these tubes are like 24 frames where they're smooth.
Right. Makes sense.
That smoothness is something you love when you're just like relaxing and enjoying it and seeing the whole thing, as opposed to saying like, you know, let me get a shot of that.
Right. So what other takeaways did you get from your Paul McCartney concert, as far as takeaways that you took away business-related wise, that you got thinking about in the last couple of days?
Well, they sold 40,000 tickets in 20 minutes. How do you do that, Mark?
Oh, 40,000 in 20 minutes. Yeah, that's definitely an upgrade in technology. Yes.
Well, there's a few ways to do it. I'm like going like, how do they do that? Well, one of the ways is you don't sell, you know, a maximum of 4 tickets per transaction.
Right. That makes sense.
So sell 20.
Right.
Which means that one guy can buy 20 tickets, and lo and behold, hallelujah, you sell out in 20 minutes.
Yeah, then you get a little bit of the whole thing about scalping and all that good stuff that's going on, and some of the companies are actually accepting it because they know that they can't stop it, and they're actually getting into that whole process of it themselves.
Yep.
So.
The other thing is that you sell boxes. So like there were little restaurants where you might have bought wings. They sell hot wings there.
Right.
Well, the hot wing place has now been sold out, and Cisco has it, or General Motors has it, or Ford
Right, a radio station has a whole block of tickets or whatever, and they're giving them out, or whatever they're doing for their promos. Yeah, makes sense.
That's one way to sell 40,000 tickets in 20 minutes. Is they're cut off the top. They're never for sale for the public. They're just like, you got 40,000 tickets, but there's only 20,000 that are really being sold.
You know, I didn't look into, we're talking about Paul McCartney, but I know that Bruce Springsteen's doing it, the taping of the event and putting it up in high def sound quality and selling it off his website the day after the concert. I wonder if Paul McCartney's doing that. I have to check his website and check that out.
You know, I'll bet there's a lot to be had with that. And frankly, I think there's a lot of people at that show that hadn't been to a show in 20 years.
That was the other thing we were talking about, a little bit of cultural that you were talking about. With you said you walked around and you didn't smell one doobie, no marijuana. The whole generational change. No. But you know, I got to thinking, Mike, after you told me that, it may be because people have changed. They're now into coke and heroin.
No, I think they're into edibles and vaporizers.
You know what I mean? That might be the reason, dude.
Now, also, we're in Minnesota, not in Colorado.
Right, there we go. Where you were located at, right? But I got to thinking
The
when
last 20 years, Mark. I mean, I have a little bit of inside knowledge on it.
yeah, when you started talking to me about it, it got my brain thinking, and that was one of the things I came up with was different drugs, maybe, but also it's the generation. I think the generations of following Paul McCartney is older, and we've all done our stuff. We're all kind of phased out of it for the most part. You go to other concerts, you go to Fish, you go to some of these other concerts, and these kids are all over that. Or we just heard about a concert that was a couple weeks ago, or maybe 3 weeks ago, was Western, and the Western crowd does some heavy drinking. And they actually had to have 30, 40 different ambulances show up and take a bunch of people to the hospital, all for drinking ailments, all for basically killing themselves drinking. So it revolves around the venue, I think, and where it's located at, where it's, like you said, what town is it in?
I think that's a very wise statement, Mark. Now, you're dealing with people that I'll tell you, if Minnesota had, a legal pot, okay?
Right, Minnesota, yep.
You would have smelled it all over. Seriously, Minnesota people are really cool.
Conservative, more conservative, cool. Yes.
I think that had something to do with it, Mark. I really do. And the other thing was, people were so into the show. Oh my God! I don't want to be distracted by anything. It's like, baby, I know I love you, baby. Don't talk to me.
Yeah, I'm here to watch the show. Exactly. I'm here to watch. This is Paul McCartney. This is like you said, this is your bucket list. This is one of the last things you may never get to see Paul McCartney again. This may be the last time you get to see him.
Right. That's exactly right. It's like I had one beer the whole show. I'll normally drink, I don't know, 5?
Yeah, 3 or 4 at least.
But I drink Coors Light, so it's like I'm not really drinking beer.
I don't drink anymore, so it's a different thing for me to go out. Like when I go back home, I go to my little college town, and it's a whole different perspective to go in and have a waitress to ask me what I want to drink, and I have to tell her bring me a water.
Yeah. So here's my tip to people, and I know a lot about drinking beer at concerts. Okay, I really do. Drink weak beer.
Well, they actually water it down. Most venues nowadays, they do a lot of watering of the beer down because they don't want everybody getting so drunk that they have, cause a problem. So,
Mark, I got a DUI after a concert. It was like 12 years ago. It was Poison, Cinderella, Faster Pussycat, and Winger.
Well, you were drinking some of the stout stuff there, buddy. Yeah.
And let me share something with the audience here. I was not drinking Coors Light like I normally do. They had margaritas and daiquiris, and here's the funny part. There were these tall, skinny drinks.
Right.
The little bases, this skinny little thing up here, and I got pulled over on the way home. I had like a 5-mile ride home. Oh my God!
You thought you were home safe, no problems.
If you've been to 1,000 concerts like I have, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, eventually, I suppose.
So, but if I had been drinking Coors Light that night, I was driving 12 miles an hour over the speed limit instead of the normal 8 over, and I think I would attribute it to that. And it changed my life. So here's my advice to our audience. Drink cheap beer, start late, finish early.
Right.
Take your time leaving. If you can have someone else actually drive who hasn't been drinking at all, even better.
And eat some food.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
You hit it right on the head. And frankly, one piece of pizza, a Domino's slice for $4 at the show, goes a long way. So I hope our audience will take that into mind, because I've learned a lot, and that's one of the hard lessons I've learned over the years. And I only got hit with one, but it cost me $10,000 or more.
Oh yeah, nowadays it's even more expensive. Besides the risk you take with everything else. I'm sitting here reading an article on the StubHub. They just started, the StubHub released a new concert discovery. Let me see if I can do a screen share on this article. It's interesting because they're just now going to go in against Live Nation. The Live Nation's been the one that's had the corner on the market the whole time, and they are now coming in with theirs. That is interesting. And I can't do it with this. That's it right there. Let's see if it works. I've got this new Apple. Can you see this article?
Let me. I can. Yeah.
All right.
So I'm as we
my window.
Get all dizzy as I plug in my MacBook Pro that lasts for like 8 hours on a charge.
Right.
And guess how long it's been?
8 hours.
7 hours and 45 minutes. We're back to business now.
So yeah, the StubHub's going to go right up against Live Nation, and I'm looking for these folks to start doing more than just selling tickets, to do a lot more of the inner stuff that we were just talking about that's related to marketing for the pre-show. In other words, if you go to get tickets ahead of time, and then it tells you where the bathrooms are at, gives you some of the parking information, all the information that's contextual to the event is going to be the big thing that's happening, and more so like what you're talking about, the high-tech type of events where they start tying a lot more of the where the merch tables are at, where the bathrooms are at, and all that good stuff. Should be interesting. Just see how they do with that.
I was at a show in Colorado just before I moved to Minnesota. I moved here a couple of years ago, and literally, they had at the back of the stage, you could buy the DVD. I mean, it was a CD. I can't. Don't hold me. It's CD or DVD. You can buy a print of the show you were just at.
Right. That's what we were talking about with the Paul McCartney. Excuse me, Bruce Springsteen selling the stuff. It's a day after. They usually put the files up on his site.
There you go. They were doing this the same night of the show.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Now there was a big backup and big lines, and frankly, I don't think the technology they had quite worked quite right, because really what you want to buy, really, if they were doing it instead of the disc, they're doing the memory stick.
Yeah, nowadays it would be the USB stick, exactly.
Yeah. And that's how it works. Lady Gaga does that, and frankly, I think we're headed that way, where they're literally during the show, before and when the encore comes on, they've written the bulk of the file to the stick, and they just got to add this little extra piece afterwards.
Yep, and you take it home right then, and you'd probably be able to, like you said, a little bit of piece afterwards or something. You could probably log on and grab some other stuff off their site and go to the same USB stick that would actually have a code in it that would maybe match up with you buying it at the event. Would be another way of doing it as well.
Yep, and when you plug it in at home and you register, you get access to this other stuff.
Exactly.
And they get your stuff to market more to you, or at least to keep you in the tune. Because you know what? When Paul McCartney's gone and next summer Ringo Starr's in town with an all-star band, you get notified.
Yeah, exactly. It would be exactly, and it would come up after the fact. Yeah, exactly. It makes sense. Be good marketing.
Gosh, Mark, this has been an awesome show. I've really enjoyed doing this. I hope our audience has learned a few things, had a good time tonight. I've really had a great time doing this show, and I want to do more of these with you, Mark. We've been friends for a good long time, but you know what? I think everything's in front of us if we look at it. Our future going forward is.
Technology is growing. I'm leaping into some deep ends of the pool with what I've got going on, and following the market with the Google Plus and the market that we've got going on with Music Pulse. So it's going to be a lot of fun in the months to come. I think live streaming is the big thing that's coming in a lot more so. You'll have a split. You'll have the professionals like Paul McCartney or other events. Have you seen Tri-Studio with Bob Weir? Have you seen his site?
No, I haven't. But you always have something new to spring on me.
It's amazing what these guys can do. Because they've got the money. They've got the money to be able to do something like this, where he's tied into the new technology, where it's live streaming, and you've got not just a studio like the old days where you had just your equipment to push the sound. He's got all the cameras, lighting, everything to push the quality in the sound and the video, and do it in a live streaming event. So it's pretty cool. And
have you seen a lot of Daryl's house?
Daryl's house started it out, and he started out online when he started that and went there. But there's a lot more coming with the live streaming type of events. It's amazing.
Yep. Frankly, Mark, I am your follower and all this.
I'm just a babe in the woods, but there is definitely a big market that's coming with what some are calling engagement marketing, where we get to engage our audience. And I was looking at our events calendar tonight, and I didn't see anybody out there interacting tonight. It was a little bit of a short a short promo on this one, but hopefully we'll get some more people in here that'll come in, and we'll have some good discussions coming up in the months to come. I thank you very much for coming to see me, Mike, and we'll talk to you the next time.
I'll be at another show, and we'll do something, from that next one. Who knows who it'll be? Maybe Ringo Starr, maybe.
Yeah, who knows? We might be able to get some live stream on-site interviews from you. As heavy as you are into music, you never know.
Well, what I found out is folks on LinkedIn that are in their 50s, which is me, LinkedIn in their 50s,
right?
They're interested in this stuff. It isn't all, gosh, I'm just trying to find a way to get a break from my business life and find other people like me that enjoy things like me, and frankly, I'd like to do business with them. So yeah, if you like this here, we do LinkedIn and social media work for companies and teams. If you like our style on music, you might like our style on business too. Call that that's a business plug, but what the heck, I really enjoy doing business with people who like the music I like. What can I say?
Yeah, it's what it's all about. Same generation, and keep on moving the stuff forward as far as what we're up to in the music. All right, I'm going to go ahead and say goodnight to everybody. I want to thank everybody for joining us. And Mike O'Neil with the LinkedIn Rockstar. And I spelled his name wrong tonight. He was going to beat me up about that, but he's been very much of a gentleman, so we appreciate that, Mike.
I've had a little trouble with Farashi, too. 1 R, 2 R, S-C-H-I, S-H-I, whatever.
We appreciate your kindness, sir. All right, everybody, have a good night, and we'll see you the next time. Thank you very much for stopping by. Bye-bye.
Night, everybody.